Today is the final review day for factoring quadratic trinomials where a does not equal 1. So let's take a look at problem number 1. 8x squared plus 124x plus 60. So what's my first move again? I want to see if I can factor something from all three of these terms. After all, if I leave this as perfectly normal, I have a is equal to 8, b is equal to 124, and c is equal to 60. So even though a and c, 8 and 60, multiply to 480, find two numbers that multiply to 480 and add to 124. Well, if I can make the trinomial smaller by factoring out the GCF, I'm going to do that. So what can I factor out of all three of these terms? Well, they're even, right? So I can definitely divide by 2, but you'll notice I could definitely divide by 2 again. So the GCF is actually going to be 4. So if I factor out the 4, that leaves me with 4 times what is 8x squared? That's going to be 2x squared. 124x divided by 4, that's going to be positive 31x. And 4 times 15 is 60. So now I'm in business because the next, sorry, let me get my multicolored pen so it's going to be easier to write with. So now my new a, b, and c is much easier to deal with. My a is 2, my b is 31, and my c is 15. So now I want to figure out the two whole numbers that multiply to AC and add to B. Notice that A is 2 and C is 15, so that AC is positive 30, and my B is positive 31. What two numbers multiply to positive 30 and add to positive 31? Well, the combination needs to be positive, positive. So I'm going to start with 1 and 30. 1 times 30 is 30. 1 plus 30 is 30. Hey, we got it on the first try. 31. What do you know? So the problem started off so complicated, but now the table has made it so easy. So on the first try, we've got them. So that takes care of that. So what's so special about this winning combination? It helps us split the middle term. So instead of 2x squared plus 31x plus 15, I now have 2x squared plus 1x plus 30x plus 15. Now I'm in business. So now that I take these four terms, I'm going to factor by rectangle. So I'm going to put the big fella in the top left, the 2x squared. And the bottom right is positive 15. Doesn't matter which one's which, so I'm going to put positive 1x here and positive 30x over here. I'm going to cover up the right column. What can I factor out of 2x squared and positive 1x? Well, the only factor I can divide out of 2 and 1 is 1. That doesn't really help me. However, 2x squared and positive 1x both have an x in common, so the GCF would be x. Okay, x times what is 2x squared? 1 times 2 is 2, x times x is x squared. X times what is positive 1x? Positive 1. 2x times what is positive 30x? Positive 15. Check your work. Is 15 times 1 15? Correct. So now, what does it factor into? Well, did I factor anything out in front in the beginning? Yes, I factored out that 4. So factor completely says the directions. So 4 times 2x plus 1 times x plus 15. And that is how you factor completely. Okay, problem number 2. Let's move on with that. Let me just say no spoiler alert. So, number 2, 6x squared minus 3x minus 63. Factor the quadratic trinomial completely. First things first, can I factor in advance? Make this problem easier for me to digest. Yeah, 6, 3, and 63 are all divisible by 3. So I'm going to get that part out of the way. 3 times 2x squared makes 6x squared. 3 times what is negative 3x? That's negative 1x, or negative x, whichever you prefer. And 3 times what is negative 63? Okay. Negative 63 divided by 3 is going to be negative 21. So now I've factored out the 3 in advance. What I can do after this is, you just make yourself a lot of space. Remember to factor the 3 out in advance. Okay, so I just don't want to forget about that 3 that I factored out like I did in the previous problem. Okay, so remember that in my new quadratic trinomial, my a is 2, my b is negative 1, and my c is negative 21. So my AC is 2 times negative 21, which is negative 42. And my B is negative 1. Okay, what can I conclude about the combination? Well, if it multiplies to make a negative number, that means that the combination needs to be 1 positive, 1 negative. But if the combination is 1 positive, 1 negative, what does that tell me? If it adds to a negative, that means that the negative has to be stronger than the positive. So I'm going to make a table with weak positives and strong negatives. So let's start with the obvious case. 1 and negative 42. 1 times negative 42 is negative 42. 1 plus negative 42 is negative 41. I don't like that. 2 and negative 21. 2 times negative 21 is negative 42. 2 plus negative 21 is negative 19. 3. 3 times negative 14. 3 times negative 14 is negative 42. 3 plus negative 14 is negative 11. 4 does not go into 42 with a whole number. 5 does not go into 42 as a whole number. But 6 does. 6 times negative 7 is negative 42. But 6 plus negative 7 is negative 1. Therefore, we've got a winner on this try. So what's so special about positive 6, negative 7? They are going to take the middle term and split it accordingly. So I've got positive 6x and negative 7x. And now I've got 2x squared plus 6x minus 7x minus 21. Now I'm in business. Okay. Well, remember that I've got the big fella, 2x squared, in the top left. Remember, I've got negative 21 in the bottom right. And the two other pieces, it does not matter. So I'm going to put positive 6x here and negative 6x over there. Now, let's do this problem. I'm going to cover up the right column. Is there anything I can factor out of 2x squared and positive 6x? Yeah. So 2 and 6, the GCF of 2 and 6, I can divide both of them by 2, and x squared and x by x. So the GCF of 2x squared and positive 6x, they both can be divisible by 2x. Okay? 2x times what is 2x squared? X. 2x times what is positive 6x? Positive 3. X times what is negative 7x? Negative 7. Check your work. Is positive 3 times negative 7 negative 21? Yes. So now I factored out the 3 in advance. So my factors go x plus 3 times 2x minus 7 with the 3 factored out in front. Okay. Okay. Moving on to problem number 3 now. 14x squared plus x minus 3. Well, if there's no factor in front of the x, I can automatically put a 1 right here, if that makes your life easier. Can I factor anything out from all 3 of these terms? No, I don't think so, especially since there's a 1x right there. The only thing I can really do is divide by 1, which really doesn't help me. So, well, I got to write my a, my b, and my c. Well, remember that we're trying to figure out the winning team that multiplies to AC and adds to B. A is 14, C is negative 3. So 14 times negative 3, that'd be negative 42. And B this time is positive 1. I'm going to cover up the right column and notice that if I need to multiply to a negative number, that means that it needs to be 1 positive, 1 negative. But what does that plus 1 tell me? The positive will be stronger. So let's list some suspects. Negative 1, positive 42. Negative 1 times 42 is negative 42. Negative 1 plus 42 is 41. All right, negative 2, positive 21. Negative 2 times 21 is negative 42. Negative 2 plus 21 is 19. Negative 3. Negative 3 times 14 is negative 42. Negative 3 plus 14 is 11. Okay. 4 doesn't go in there a whole number of times. 5 does not go in there a whole number of times, but negative 6 does. Negative 6 times 7 is negative 42. Negative 6 plus 7 is positive 1. We have a winner. We've got our winning team right there. So what does that do? Well, since we didn't factor anything out, we just leave it as it is. But now we're going to take this, split the middle term into negative 6x and positive 7x. Now I've got my 4 terms. Let's put them in the rectangle and factor accordingly. So now 14x squared and negative 3 go into these parts respectively. So now I'm going to put negative 6x here and positive 7x here. I'm going to cover up this column. Okay. Well, what two numbers, what can I factor out of 14x squared and negative 6x? I'm going to factor out a 2x. 2x times what is 14x squared? 7x. So 2x times 7x is 14x squared. 2x times what is negative 6x? Negative 3. And finally, 7x times what is positive 7x? Positive 1. Check your work. Is positive 1 times negative 3 negative 3? Yep. So now what this becomes entirely is 7x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. Okay. Right. 18x squared minus 36x plus 16. Can I factor in advance? After all, A is 18, B is negative 36, and C is 16. I'm not really happy about this. I want to make it smaller if I can. Okay, well, 18 can be divisible by 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. Well, yeah, it's 4. No, 3, no. I think the biggest number I can divide out of all three of these is 2. So the GCF is 2, so I'm going to factor out the 2. So now I've got 2 times 9x squared, 2 times negative 18x, and 2 times positive 8. So now my new trinomial becomes 9x squared minus 18x plus 8, where a is 9, b is negative 18, and c is positive 8. Okay, so now I need to figure out the winning team that multiplies to AC and adds to B. Notice that A is 9 and C is 8, so I'm going to multiply 9 times 8, which is positive 72, and B is negative 18. Well, what can I conclude about the combination? Positive, positive, negative, negative, or one of each? If it makes your life easier, cover up the right column and go, okay, it's either positive times positive or negative times negative. It's negative times negative. Okay, so now I'm going to make this table. Negative 1, negative 72. Negative 1 times negative 72 is positive 72, but they add to form negative 73. I'm not happy. So let's make me happy. Negative 2, negative 36. Negative 2 times negative 36 is positive 72, but negative 2 plus negative 36 is negative 38. Negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 24 is positive 72. Negative 3 plus negative 24 is negative 27. But we're getting closer to negative 18. I can feel it. Negative 4 goes into 72. I forget how many times. I think it's 18, but I'm going to get a calculator just to be sure. 72 divided by 4. 18, yeah, just double check. Negative 4, negative 18. And they add together to form negative 22. So close to negative 18. 5 doesn't go in there because it doesn't end in a 0 or a 5. I know 6 goes in there. Negative 6 goes into 72, negative 12. Negative 6 times negative 12 is positive 72. Negative 6, here we go. They add together to get negative 18. We finally get a winner. And that's what it takes sometimes, guys. It really just takes a lot of failures to get to your success. Life lesson. And now I'm going to take that specific combination and split it into 9x squared minus 6x minus 12x plus 8. Once I get that, I'm going to go into the rectangle. So I've got 9x squared in the top left, the big fella, and the bottom right is plus 8. It does not matter which two go in either of the top right and bottom left, but I'm going to put negative 6x here and negative 12x over there. I'm going to cover up the right column. Can I factor something out of 9x squared and negative 6x? They're both divisible by 3, and they have an x in common, so the GCF of 9x squared and negative 6x is 3x. 3x times what is 9x squared? 3x. 3x times what is negative 6x? Hold on. Did I do this right? Negative 2. Oh, yeah, I did. I was looking at the 8. I was like, see, even I go, wait, did I do this right? And it's like, yeah. 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. 3x times what is negative 12? I didn't see the negative 12. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. See, I'm always very thorough. I'm always like, did I do this right? No. 3x times what is negative 12x? Negative 4. Check your work. Once again, negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. So we did do this right. Always think ahead. And now, 3x minus, oh, sorry, what did I factor out in advance? I factored out the 2. Don't forget about what you factored out. So the 2 gets factored out. 3x minus 2. 3x minus 4. And that's how you factor a quadratic trinomial where a does not equal 1. Think about each step what you're doing. Okay. 11x squared minus 19x minus 6. How do I factor this quadratic trinomial? Well, can I factor in advance? I don't think so. 11 is only divisible by 1 and 11. And I don't see any of these being divisible by 11. A is 11, B is negative 19, and C is negative 6. 11 is A, C is negative 6, so AC has to be negative 66, and B is negative 19. So I need to plan in advance. What two numbers multiply to negative 66 and add to negative 19? Well, if it multiplies to negative 66, that means that I need a positive times a negative. And the negative has to be stronger. So I'm going to make this little table. 1 and negative 66. Weak positives, strong negatives. They multiply to negative 66, but they add to negative 65. 2 and negative, 33? 2 times negative 33 is negative 66, but 2 plus negative 33 is negative 31. 3. 3 times negative 22. 3 times negative 22 is negative 66. 3 plus negative 22 is negative 19. There we go. So now, there's my winning team. I'm really, really happy. Let's get on with it. Okay, so what am I going to do with this winning team? I'm going to split the middle term into positive 3x and negative 22x. And now I've got 11x squared plus 3x minus 22x minus 6. So let's put them in all 4 parts of the rectangle. The big fella in the top left, 11x squared. The C goes in the bottom right, the tiny little one, negative 6. And now I'm going to put positive 3x here and negative 22x over here. Cover up the right column. Can I factor anything out of 11x squared and positive 3x? Well, 11 and 3 don't really have any factors in common except for 1, so that doesn't really help me. But the only thing that I can factor out is 1x. So an x can go on top. X times what is 11x squared? Well, 1 times 11 is 11, and x times x is x squared, so 11x times x is 11x squared. X times what is positive 3x? Positive 3. 11x times what is negative 22x? Negative 2. Check your work. Is positive 3 times negative 2 negative 6? Correct. So now, did I factor anything out in advance? No, I did not. So the final answer is 11x plus 3 times x minus 2. So 11x plus 3 times x minus 2. The end. Okay, 3 more problems and we'll call it a day. 20x squared plus 60x plus 25. What's my first move? I want to see if I can factor in advance. So I'm going to factor out the GCF of 20, 60, and 25. Not 2, not 3. I think it's 5. So let's go with 5. 5 times 4x squared is 20x squared. 5 times positive 12x is positive 60x. And 5 times positive 5 is positive 25. So now my ABC is much easier to digest. I sure as heck don't want to figure out what multiplies to 20 times 25 and adds to 60. What is that? 2 times 25 would be 50. So it'd be what multiplies to 500 and adds to 6. No, thank you. Two numbers that multiply to 500 and add to 60. I'm not interested. A equals 4, B equals 12, and C equals 5. And yeah, just like that, I figured out the combination in my head. I was like, wait, that's actually not too bad. 20 times 25 is 500, and as to 60, that'd be 10 times 50. So 10 times 50, yeah, see, a little challenge for myself. But the point is, you might want to do it like this because it'll make your life a lot easier. So 5 times 4 is 20, AC, positive 20 rather. B is positive 12. This is much simpler, I think. So what two numbers multiply to positive 20 and add to positive 12? Well, they need to be positive positive. 1 and 20, they multiply to 20, but they add to 21. 2 and 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 2 plus 10 is 12. Oh, we got it on the second try. Really happy about that. We got it on the second try. I love it like that. All right, so now I'm going to split the middle term. So now this problem becomes 4x squared plus 2x plus 10x plus 5. And now I'm going to put them in this rectangle. The big fella, positive 4x squared. The tiny fella, positive 5. Positive 2x, positive 10x. Cover up that right column. What can I factor out of 4x squared and positive 2x? Well, the biggest number I can divide out of 4 and 2 is 2, and they both have at least an x. This one has an x squared, this one has an x, so I can factor out an x. 2x times what is 4x squared? 2x. 2x times what is positive 2x? Positive 1. 2x times what is positive 10x? Positive 5. Check your work. Is 5 times 1 equal to 5? Yes. So did I factor out in advance? I factored out a 5, so I'm not going to forget about you. Don't you forget about copyright infringement. So 5 gets factored out in front. 2x plus 1. And 2x plus 5. Remember, I just want to clarify, please leave this as a multiplication problem. It's not an addition problem of 5 plus 2x plus 1 plus 2x plus 5. It is literally factoring, which means make it into a multiplication problem. Okay, 2 more problems to go, and then we'll call it a day, and I will give you guys the test. 12x squared plus 5x minus 7. What's my first move? Well, I don't think I can divide anything from 12, 5, and 7 and get whole numbers. So I have no choice but to say A is 12, grr, I don't like big numbers. B is 5, okay, but C is negative 7. So I need to figure out what multiplies to AC and adds to B. A is 12, C is negative 7. 12 times negative 7 is going to be negative 84. B is positive 5. Okay. If it multiplies to negative 84 and adds to positive 5, has to be a positive times a negative with a stronger positive. So let's make a big table. Let's make a table with weak negatives and strong positives. So negative 1 and positive 84, they multiply to negative 84, but they add to 83. Negative 2 and positive 42, they multiply to negative 84, but they add to 40. 3, I can't remember, let me get my calculator. 84 divided by 3 is 28. So negative 3 and positive 28. They multiply to negative 84, but they add to 25. Negative 4 goes in there for sure. If 4 goes into 80 20 times, then 4 goes into 84 21 times. They multiply to negative 84, but negative 4 plus 21 adds to positive 17. Getting closer and closer. Got to try a little bit. It's all right. Does 84 divided by 6 give me something? Yeah, even I don't know this combination, and I'm trying to figure it out myself. 84 divided by 6 is 14. So negative 6, positive 14. I skipped 5 because it does not end in a 5 or 0, so it's not divisible by 5. Okay, but they multiply to negative 84, but negative 6 plus 14 is positive 8. Not happy about that. Let me try 7 just in case. 84 divided by 7. Am I going to win? Let's try. Yes, negative 7 and positive 12. Looks good to me. Negative 7 times positive 12 is negative 84, but negative 7 plus 12 is positive 5. Oh, thank goodness. Whew, it took a while, but we did it. So now, negative 7 and positive 12, they multiply negative 84, and they add to 5. So therefore, I'm going to split the middle term with negative 7x, positive 12x. So now I've got 12x squared minus 7x plus 12x minus 7. Oof. All over the place. So the big fella, here we go. 12x squared. The tiny fella, negative 7. Negative 7x, positive 12x. Here we go. Cover up the right column. What can I divide out of 12 and 7 and still get a whole number? Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 6, and not 12. And 7 is only divisible by 1 and 7. I think it's just 1, honestly. But they still have an x in common. X squared and x still have an x to divide out. X times what is 12x squared? 12x. X times what is negative 7x? Negative 7. 12x times what is positive 12x? Positive 1. Check your work. Is positive 1 times negative 7 equal to negative 7? You bet. So now, did I factor anything out in advance? No, I did not. So now this becomes 12x minus 7 times x plus 1. And that's how you factor 12x squared plus 5x minus 7. We've got one more to go. Okay. 20x squared minus 124x plus 24. Okay, all right. Well, the biggest number I can divide out of all three of these is going to be 4. I'm looking at the time, so factor out the 4. 4 times 5x squared, and 4 goes into 124x, negative 31x, there we go, and then plus 6. Okay, now that my A is 5, my B is negative 31, and my C is 6. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to positive 30 and add to negative 31. Well, if it multiplies to a positive, it needs to be positive, positive, or negative, negative. It's negative, negative. So let's try the obvious. Negative 1, negative 30. Negative 1 times negative 30 is positive 30, but negative 1 plus negative 30 is negative 31. We got it on the first try yet again. So that checks out. Now, I split this middle term into negative 1x and negative 30x plus 6. So 5x squared goes in the big fella. Positive 6, bottom right. Negative 1x, negative 30x. Cover up that right column. Can I divide anything from 5x squared and negative 1x? I think it's just an x. X times what is 5x squared? 5x. X times what is negative 1x? Negative 1. 5x times what is negative 30x? Negative 6. Check your work. Negative 6 times negative 1 is positive 6. Correct. What did I factor out in advance? I factored out a 4. So I factor out the 4, and I get 5x minus 1 times x minus 6. The end. Best of luck to you. Good luck on the test. And the next unit will be using factoring for a reason. Factoring does not go away. Good luck. The test is due Friday at 11:59 p.m. Thank you.